Hi, it's me again. Sorry about that. For those who still don't know me, I don't know where you've been for the last 2 days, but my name is Pere Pérez. I'm the founder and CEO of Metacampus. And we're here to accelerate the adoption of emerging technologies. That's what we do as a business, but that's what we do that's, I would say, what is our purpose in life. I've been in digital innovation for the last 25 years, started working in digital agencies and ad serving technologies from the late 90s, spending 10 years in London. Then I went back to Barcelona after 10 years and then set up a new company which was all about immersive technologies coming from 2012, 2013 when there was still no market for metaverse or extended reality, etc. But our role was to start onboarding new clients, new brands into the potential of experimenting with these immersive technologies and trying to connect all the breakthroughs that were coming from a brain sensor with a VR headset, with a movement sensor, and how we can create different types of emotional or more meaningful experiences. Then in 2019, we sold the company to MediaPro Group. There was head of innovation for a very large audiovisual group in Europe. But after the pandemic and seeing how behind we were in regards to digital skills, where we had assumed that we knew it all because our grandma was on Facebook and we had a family group on WhatsApp, so everyone felt very comfortable with the use of the smartphone, thinking that, yeah, we got this internet thing, when the reality hit us in the face with the pandemic, where we could see that corporates and professionals were really lagging behind on their knowledge, their ability, even the use of, for example, teachers using video conferences to do lessons. It was painful to see how they struggled to do that when we had Skype for the last 25 years as our everyday type of technology. So the combination of seeing now the digital skills that we were behind, and now we're saying, okay, only 54% of Europeans, active professionals in Europe, have the basic digital skills, combined with the fact that we were always struggling trying to find talent with experience, with the right knowledge and the skills, and that actually it wasn't just us, and that's the data that over 75% of employers, they are struggling to get the right people or people to push their business forward, which is one of the impending issues on this age of technology acceleration. And finally, this technology acceleration that we have seen even from the World Economic Forum since 2015, 2016, where there were already signs about this constantly or accelerating move in more exponential speed than what we've seen before. So given where we are today, the gap is actually widening rather than reducing the digital skills gap. And that's why we decided to set up Metacampus. And Metacampus, trying to reduce this gap. We've been working with hundreds of professionals in the last 2.5 years in terms of trying to upskill them. We've been working with over 20 brands and enterprises, trying to help them also adopt these new technologies more at a scale and in groups and collectives rather than an individual level as well. And after all this work and 2.5 years of focusing on this, we could summarize, in essence, there are two types of professionals in this exponential age. There are the professionals who are actively working to become obsolete, and you may think that may be negative. And then the others are the inactive professionals who are becoming obsolete by the minute. And this, what it may be, a statement that may be done for the presentation, it rings so true, because those professionals who are not proactively looking at how to make themselves obsolete, and by making themselves obsolete, what are we saying here? We're saying people who are looking to how can I automate part of my daily job? How can I use technology to do this that I do every day, that it is a pain to do, that it is repetitive task? How can I automate that part? How can I make this faster? How can I make sure that I get the information from my colleagues in the right format, on demand, etc.? So it's all about changing mindset. And you need professionals with the right mindset. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to accelerate your company progress in the same way that technology it is accelerating. Because if you have to drag all these 100 employees who are not proactively looking at how to explore with the new technologies to make themselves obsolete, then this you do not have enough pulling power to keep up with the rate of progress. And that will kill your company. And that is one of the key lessons that we're learning. And that's, okay, how do we work to change that? How can we help companies, or how can we help ourselves to change that? And there are some, I think, misinformation. There is a lot of fear, and there is a lot of hype about, okay, AI will displace hundreds of millions of jobs. And yes, it will, but sometimes we're asking the wrong questions, because we're asking here, for example, we're asking, oh, which agency jobs will AI automation have a biggest impact on? And then I asked ChatGPT to do a list based on percentage, but also to detail, for the purpose of this presentation, to detail the main tasks that would be automated. And that applies on the creative services side of the industry, as it applies to the enterprise sector, on the banking sector. But what we should focus really is, okay, detailing when you have an enterprise structure, every single role, and detailing which are the tasks that are required to implement this role. And then let's look at which tasks we can automate today, which tasks we think we'll be able to semi-automate tomorrow, and start working on that constant automation of our daily work. That's what really matters. Not the role. The role will not become obsolete. The role will still be there, but the amount of work that is done on a manual basis related to that work, that is what is going to be disrupted massively. And for that, it's not about changing or implementing a new software package in the company and everyone going through a training course, because now we're going to use Salesforce, or we're going to upgrade to the new version of Microsoft Office, and then people do like a one-off every 6 months or every 12 months. It does require a constant level of training or learning, and then exploring and constantly trying and seeing how feasible it is today versus how can I prepare for the changes of the next 6 months. And that is a constant, because really to implement this successfully in a company without having to spend your effort on dragging your teams towards this continuous innovation, we have to find ways of getting our staff motivated and really celebrating this level of automation and actively working in making towards their own obsolescence, but to do that in a really positive manner. So people fear change, and when people fear change, then we have to understand the human condition, and we have to understand that when you're asking people to change, you're getting them outside their comfort zone, and then all of a sudden, they may feel that how valuable they felt until now, that will go out of the window. So we do have to manage those emotional sentiments and try to direct that into a positive manner. And for that, we have to be really transparent. We have to be really involving people into what it means, and trying to get them to see this as a positive outcome for them. And what else, what additional value, what additional things that they were not able to do, they will be able to do in the future. So how can we encourage our teams to make this? And what we have been applying with our corporate partners and clients is what we learned as the infinite game and the infinite mindset. Does anyone here know about the infinite game and the infinite mindset? Please raise your hand. Okay, that's good. It's great that not many people, so let's see if we can learn something new today. So I'm going to put an introduction video from Simon Sinek, who is our inspiration in bringing this the infinite mindset into the business life. So hopefully this plays.
In the mid-1980s, a philosopher and theologian by the name of Dr. James Carse defined these two types of games, finite games and infinite games. A finite game is defined as known players, fixed rules, and an agreed upon objective. Football, for example. There's always a beginning, middle, and an end, and if there's a winner, then necessarily there has to be a loser. Then there are infinite games. Infinite games are defined as known and unknown players, which means new players can join at any time. The rules are changeable, which means everyone can play however they want, and the objective is to perpetuate the game, to stay in the game as long as possible. Turns out we're players in infinite games every day of our lives. There's no such thing as being number one in your marriage. You can be number two, but you can't be number one. There's no such thing as winning global politics. Nobody wins education. You may come in first for the finite amount of time you're at school, where we have a set time frame and agreed upon objectives and metrics, but nobody wins education. And there's definitely no such thing as winning business. But if we listen to the language of so many leaders, it becomes abundantly clear that they don't know the game they're playing in. They talk about being number one, or being the best, or beating their competition. Based on what? Based upon what agreed upon metrics, timeframes, or objectives. And at the end of the day, when we play in an infinite game with a finite mindset, when we play to win in a game that has no finish line, there are some very predictable and consistent outcomes. The big ones include the decline of trust, the decline of cooperation, and the decline of innovation. And if you look at so many organizations, the rat race that they put their people in, the finite game, which is everything is about the quarterly or annual numbers, actually over the course of time destroys morale, destroys relationships, and destroys innovation. And the great organizations are the ones who understand that the goals and the metrics are waypoints. They help us understand speed and distance, but they're not the purpose of the game. The only true competitor in an infinite game is ourselves. That's what it is. How do we make our products better this year than they were last year? How do we make the quality of our customer service better this year than it was last year? How do we make the qualities of our leadership better this year than they were last year? How do we make the culture stronger this year than it was last year? And this is the obsession of the best organizations in the world. They're obsessed with outdoing themselves. And by the way, the funny coincidence is they tend to outperform their competition simultaneously. But it's an obsession with improving themselves rather than trying to beat their competition.
Well, at the end of the day, what we're saying is, how do you generate a culture of constant improvement, which is the only way to succeed in an era of constant change? Because if you not have the right mindset across the company, of course, remember what it says, trust. Remember what it says, motivation, and the fact that especially, we were just saying before the video, people fear change. There's plenty of headlines, and there is plenty of now figures out there of big technology companies laying off a lot of people because of AI automation, the same in the video game industry, and that's going to be coming across many other sectors. So how do you make sure that now, before it is too late, before you are forced to speed up your change, and by then you have to completely displace 50% of your workforce, now we still have time to see how can we change that in a way that what else can I get out of my team? Because at the end of the day, one of the things that we're going to learn today is that if we just focus on automation, we're actually reducing our business growth, because we're now automating tasks that we used to charge 100K to do. The more we automate, and of course our competitors, they will come with similarly automated deliveries. We're not going to be able to charge 100K. That was we'll be able to charge 25K, because we've saved a lot of money through automation, but the client is not expected to pay that increased margins. The new market price will keep going down, So if we only focus on automation, then we're not growing our business. Now we have human capital in the business, and we have the tools. So if we get people proactively using the tools and then liberating some of their time and using the talent capacity to generate new revenue streams, to generate new business models, new services, that's how companies can actually grow in the future. It is controversial, and that's why we're asking for an honest approach. If when you're asking people to be more proactive about using tools to become more efficient, they have to see that there is transparency. They have to see that there is a reward system for that. That we're not asking them is like when you have to make a team redundant, and then you ask the team leader to make everyone else redundant, knowing that then once he or she has made that, then he or she will also lose that job. So that's what we have to get rid of on employees' mindset. Because if employees feel that, if your teams feel that they're proactively making improvements on the daily output, just as a way of losing the job quicker, they're not going to do that. They're going to become more inactive employees. And that's going to have a much bigger effect into your organization, because there is no question about an accountant using Copilot in the way that it produces the monthly accounts. There's no question that this is going to happen. So if you are in that role, you either do it or you don't do it, and you will be replaced by someone who does it. So how do we unblock this? And that's when we say, okay, so this infinite game of automation, because today we cannot automate everything. It's just we're at the very beginning. But we need to explore, we need to test, we need to get the house in order. That's one of the main things that we were seeing yesterday with one of the keynotes. What is delaying the uptake of AI technology is the fact that we've not complied with the digital transformation that we've been talking about for the last 20 years. We do not have the house in order. We do not have the structure of the files and the data in a way that can be easily understood and provide value now by the agents and assistants. So this process takes time. We need to get started with that while we're exploring with the tools, and then automation will come. And you need to have to get that motivation. You do need to have those reward programs, those thinking of your team. Trying to do that transition is almost like counseling. One of our clients, ACT, which is Accelerate Career Transition, they work with professional athletes, and then they've been helping professional athletes to transition their career towards the corporate world at the end of their sports career. Because what happens is that at the end of your sports career, then you have problems about self-esteem, because all of a sudden, it doesn't really matter that you're a top athlete. You start in the corporate world, and you start behind others. So that sort of mental support, that almost therapeutical support, this is what we're going to face across the workplace. Because a lot of people who had built a lot of value through their know-how, etc., now it's really an issue if they're not able to use the technology tools at their disposal. We've seen a lot of corporates that it's okay if they don't know how to use PowerPoint. It's okay if they need their assistant to set up the video call, because they add a lot more value in many other places. Now, in the era that we're moving, this is no longer okay. So we do need to make those transitions, because otherwise people will lose their self-esteem, their self-value, and that will really affect them. Yeah. So that is why preparing your business for constant change, we do need to adopt this infinite mindset, because it's not one software upgrade, it is a constant. And as Simon was saying, winning at the infinite game in business is staying in the game for as long as possible. You as a professional, winning means actually constantly upgrading myself, so I remain valuable to the company, and the company as a whole, that the value proposition is constantly adapted to the constant changes. There is this movement in US, which is called the AI solopreneur. And then the AI solopreneur, it is a movement where there is a new ecosystem of startups that are generated by one single person. Everything else is tools. And that's, we could see new solutions generated just by a creator, and using the tools at his or her disposal. And that's the sort of thing, the big agencies, the big corporates, all of that, they have a much harder job because competing in an environment where the barriers of entry are really reducing and becoming more eliminated, and businesses becoming more agile, big agencies are going to be competing with boutique agencies. They're already set up for that constant change. So how do you make an adaptation, dragging those hundreds and hundreds of employees, trying to reskill them, trying to get them motivated? That is a much bigger task than just killing it and setting up a new company way leaner than before. So we want to avoid that. We want to help in this transition, because at the end of the day, working hours, they are a means to an end. The value is not really the time that we put into it, is the quality of the output that we get. It just happens that with today's tools, to generate that valuable output, you may have to spend X amount of hours with an X amount of human resources. But the same with automation. Automation, it is a means to an end. Just gaining efficiencies will only make your businesses smaller. So you need to make up for that with new revenue streams, with new business models, and you have the capital, human capital, at home. The sooner you make them available to start working on those new business opportunities, new related services, the bigger chances you have as an enterprise to actually become successful and continue growing in this era of constant. So that's what we proposing. That's our approach based on what we've learned, because otherwise we have seen we work with entities that they are becoming inactive, and after initial, I would say, level of excitement trying to implement a program of innovation, of adoption of innovation, then the managers, of course, they're really busy. Oh, I can only dedicate 1 or 2 hours per week to this. Oh, sorry, I have to cancel now because I've got another project. We're seeing this constantly. So there is a level of sense of believing in the change, and another level which is way, way harder, which is implementing that change across the organization. And we're not aware through the PowerPoint presentations, through the data, the amount of work that it takes to filter all those kind of mindset changes throughout the organization, across all the hierarchies, across all the procedures, the workflows, etc. It is big. It is a big, big task ahead. And unless you have your team behind, it becomes a much bigger task, almost impossible.
So AI or artificial...
So what we're doing, finding your shared purpose. And I think that is when we were saying about we have to be true to, with our teams. We have to find a shared purpose, something that, we are going into this future together. We do need to redefine our company value proposition for 2030. It doesn't really matter what is our value proposition today. We cannot hang on to something that may become obsolete in itself, that it is not adapted to the times. Let's start working today on what would be our value proposition in 5 years' time. Let's start imagining what are the scenarios, how consumer habits will change. We're seeing how the B2C, the gaming, entertainment sectors, and many other aspects of our lives, the new generations are changing their habits, and they're changing it in a much faster capacity. And they will be expecting to engage with technology in ways that we're not even thinking of. So then developing that transition roadmap that can accelerate progress exponentially. So how do we save the first hour? And that's one of the things that we have this, imagine on the exponential growth, the linear steps versus the exponential steps. It's 30 linear steps gets you to 30 exponential steps gets you to 1 billion. So how do we implement that in terms of accelerating the adoption of innovation? So how do we get, okay, let's invest 30 minutes a day until then we get to save those 30 minutes a day, and then let's use those 30 minutes a day to then save the next hour. and then let's use now that we've liberated a lot of human capital and we've also invested in a lot of exploration to then see how that me having an extra hour and a half a day versus someone in another department, then working together, then we can multiply that kind of value proposition across the company. So it's working in the exponential mindset and thinking with an exponential mindset. It is the only way to ensure that the digital divide or the digital skills gap and how that becomes an output in your company is not getting bigger and bigger, but we're getting closer because progress, it is going at that rate. Yeah, and we have to empower and reward our teams for embracing change. And they have to see that. And they have to see that that is an honest approach that is going to be worthwhile for me. Because actually, if you're able to do that, you will want to keep those teams in your company because they will become hugely valuable. People who are constantly exploring, who are constantly experimenting, testing, thinking, oh, I've seen this. I thought that if we implement this in whatever part of our workflow, we have a benefit. This has so much value in the enterprise of the future that we have to make sure that we retain that. And we're in a position that we're seeing 77% of the companies that are struggling to acquire the right talent. We have the right talent. That's why we have it in the company now. Let's make sure we help them in this transition, and then they will help us in the benefit. And then with that, it's not just about giving money back to our employees. It is about exploring more decentralized and community-driven decision-making and how they can work almost as communities rather than as employees. How can we liberate them from the more tedious and repetitive tasks, which are the prime ones for automation, into something that is they can focus more on social impact, or they can focus more on other areas that will bring long-term value to their personal lives as well as to the company. And what we, as part of our partnership with Triality and the Height Campus, we're going to start from next month. We're going to start doing like a monthly online workshops for anyone who has been part of the GM Eindhoven and also the tenants of the Height Campus. We will share the details. And the idea is that with these monthly sessions, we're going to start helping professionals in their respective companies to try to implement these sequential yet exponential improvements, across their daily routine or in the company, regardless of the company, regardless of the role. I think we all can benefit from taking all these steps towards progressive innovation. And I think that was it. Thank you very much. I don't know if you believe what I'm saying, but we have to do something about it. Thank you. Any questions?
We certainly have some.
Any additional questions? I mean...
Now, what I will do, because we also have the conversation now on stage, and I don't see the chairs standing here, so is it okay if I give you the questions that I'm getting the chairs already?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, because you're not getting rid of me yet. I'm going to stay on the stage with the next session, which is also very interesting. So, how do I get started with AI? Do you use any specific framework, methodology for B2B? I think the framework and the methodology is that infinite game of innovation that we've been discussing. How you get started, as I was saying earlier, okay, make a list of everything that you do on a daily basis. Do a tracker of, okay, what did I do today? And you'll see that you spend X amount of hours or minutes doing the replying emails. You may spend X amount of minutes doing meetings, then writing the meeting notes or doing some reports for your line manager. All these things. So what I would say is start detailing what you do on a daily basis and then go and find tools to implement that. And you'll find that most of the tools integrated into your, at the end of I think 50% of people that work with Microsoft Office suite. The other 50% of the professionals, they work with Google suite. There are the main standard tools from both of them. So depending on your package, start exploring those and see how you can apply those into your daily task. And then, do not think of, okay, I implement this, tomorrow is automated. No, you have to implement it, you have to monitor it, you have to supervise it until it comes to a point where you're comfortable that that assistance is actually adding value to you. And then the second question is, how do you engage employees from a change management perspective? How do we engage employees is empowering employees. We do need this top-bottom in terms of the belief and the support. The drive has to come from the top. So it is something that it has no barriers at the line management. Line management can become one of the biggest barriers when they should become the accelerators. But no, they are one of the biggest barriers in empowering the next level of people. And then you'd be surprised that those people that they're actually almost like hidden within those teams, they're the ones that they're willing to provide more. They're willing to explore. They're willing to be proactive because that helps them grow. So I think, leading from the top, but making sure we reward from the very bottom. That's how we engage employees. And then the ones that we force are the middle management. We make that their mission. So that would be my personal recommendation based on our work.